Hello everybody, welcome to week 10 of Data 301. So this week we are going to be learning about Tableau, and that is a really excellent software package that allows us to make interactive dashboards. It also is very good at making visualizations. However, it's a bit different than what we're used to with Seaborn. So we'll be making a couple of Tableau dashboards this week, and normally I would do this in a live lecture, but because of the fact that our live lecture is canceled on Wednesday, there is a recording of a sample workshop that I typically go through when I want to teach students Tableau. There's a couple things that you can do. I'll just show you on the website. I've updated everything. So once you see this, you can, on the week 10 summary, there's a couple of course videos there, and then also Lab 7. So with the videos, the Lab 7 video is a Tableau workshop, as I mentioned, and there's also an optional video if you want to start from like the traditional and more typical way of learning Tableau. It's kind of a smoother start, where you get to click this button to open this tab, and it's a bit slower. I do recommend that you go through the Tableau workshop, and if you want to understand something at a deeper level or explore something, then you sort of start exploring other resources. So I've got the videos here. There's only one. It's roughly 58 minutes long. So yeah, that's what you'll watch this week. And then you'll also be doing a lab in combination with this tutorial. So the way I've designed this lab is that if you follow the tutorial video that I posted on Tableau, it'll basically take you through the entire lab. And there's a couple of loading steps that you have to do. You have to create some plots, and then you have to, at the very end, create a map and then a dashboard putting it all together. So if you watch the video, it'll take you through all the steps using exactly the same data set. And yeah, so the Lab 7 should be pretty easy for you.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everybody. So we will skip the introductions and just dive right in. We've got a lot of stuff to cover, and so we're just going to go straight in. This is our introduction to Tableau. If I can just advance to the next slide. So the outline of our workshop today is we'll do an introduction to Tableau, just talk about a few of the basic elements, who uses it, why, and all those things. We'll also have some information about some interesting and important vocabulary in Tableau that are sort of kind of essential for you to know. And then we will go into a demo dashboard that Haley built last year as part of our capstone project. And as you may know, Tableau was also not taught in 532. So basically anything that people learned, they had to kind of figure it out during capstone. And so we'll show a quick demo of that. And then we'll actually go through for about half an hour and build a dashboard from scratch with some data that Haley got from Open Data Vancouver. And then we'll have a cameo from the TransLink Transit Stops team, and they'll show us how they were able to integrate R and Python scripts into Tableau, which I think may be a game changer for some of us. And then we'll have questions and an optional office hour. So after this seminar is over, Haley and I will stick around for another hour after, in case you have questions or if you want us to kind of help you with your dashboarding needs or questions specifically about Tableau. All right, so I'll pass it on to, I'll pass it on to Haley. Go for it.
I want to see if I have control over this first. Okay, great. So a little bit about Tableau. So Tableau is a visualization software used in businesses. You can make both static and dynamic plots with this. So similar to Shiny, but you can also have them static. And you can share them easily across organizations. Now, this is what I really wanted to tackle, is positions that hire. So I did a quick Google Glassdoor search for a couple of job postings, and these were the titles that came up that required Tableau as a skill. So there's business analysts, data visualization analysts, data scientists, even software developers and software engineers. So they still are being used by a lot of us in data science. And why can't I go forward? Here we go.
Just use the space bar. Okay.
And in a bunch of different companies. I think it's over 50,000 different companies that are used, and they're all widely different in sizes. But some of the bigger ones are Amazon, Apple, CIBC, Coca-Cola, one of my favorites, Lululemon, Lenovo, LinkedIn, and PayPal. So there's a good chance, Arterix also uses it, I think. So there's a good chance that if you get positioned at one of those, you might have to use Tableau. Alternatives that you can use, Power BI, I can't see right now, Looker, QuickView, Domo, and there's a lot of other options. I think Power BI is probably one of the bigger competitive software products. All right, now Faraz is going to take over and show them the dashboard I made last year. So a little thing about this is I had zero background in Tableau. And when I mean zero, I mean I had my first day on Tableau and I couldn't make a bar graph, didn't know what was going on kind of deal. But what really worked for me is kind of playing around and having a goal that I needed to achieve. So I had a goal and then I played around and self-taught to get there. So you can show them what I did for us.
Okay, yeah, try not to blush, Haley. It's really good. Okay, so we've got on the bottom here, we've got some sheets that you can, these are essentially equivalent to tabs, and you can essentially make different views of the dashboard and different information on it. So I'll start with the most basic view. On the right-hand side, we've got a bubble chart, and you know what, a bubble chart with all the orders. And if you hover, you get the tooltips of what's going on in each of the different locations. There's also this button on the right, or this option to select different dietary restrictions. And then you can select date ranges, have places. These are all the neighborhoods in Vancouver or in the Lower Mainland where there are orders. This is from her project with Fresh Prep, by the way, which is a meal delivery company. And so
it's dummy data, so it's not real data. I had to sign an NDA.
Yes, so this is all fake data that exists here, and so everything's interactive. As you change the various options on the right, the total deliveries will change, and then if you unselect, pause, and active, you'll eventually get nothing. But so essentially, this allows the partners to explore their data and where the orders are coming from, and with various filters in place if people are interested. So this is the first dashboard, which is kind of explores the data. There's also another one where she made something that allowed you to predict what would happen in the next, what was it, next few weeks or next?
Yeah, the future 4 weeks. So if they were going to be ordering 1 week from the current week, 2 weeks from the current week, 3 weeks, so on, up to 4 weeks.
Right. So you can see it's quite nice. It's very pretty, and it's got all the components that you would expect from a high quality dashboarding application. Hovering, tooltips. These numbers are changing as you select the right data, and everything is linked back and forth. So if you click on this particular one, you can see all of the clients that the model predicts would go back and resubscribe or get a delivery from Fresh Prep. Okay, so all the different aspects that we talked about, all the components, equivalent to Dash components, or in Shiny, all the different items that can be added to a dashboard, all exist in Tableau, and you can pretty easily create very fancy and very professional dashboards that can be deployed, and these can be deployed within a company's intranet, within the organization, and also publicly. I've put a few links in at the end to show you how to do the deployments. In general, you do need the Tableau server to do deployment, unless you want to deploy it for public use for everyone to see.
You can also deploy, you can have an online account too, which you can pay for. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a survey, but you're deploying it to an online server, which is a little bit different, and you pay a monthly subscription for that.
Yeah, similar to shinyapps.io. Okay, did I miss anything on this dashboard, Haley? Is there anything you're particularly proud of that you want to show?
So you see that I'll explain this really quickly because we've got a lot to cover, but this dietary restrictions on the side, that's actually an you can add extensions with Tableau, which is kind of nice. So if you can't, I'll explain this in a moment for our pros and cons, but if you can't do something a certain way, people have provided extensions that you can download so that you can do it the way you want it. And so this was particularly challenging because the opposite of somebody having, in our case, the partner really wanted to be able to filter on what kind of restrictions there were. So if someone had put beef as a restriction, they want to be able to filter on that. But the opposite of someone having it's a Boolean, so it's a true false variable. And if the problem is that the opposite of if we wanted it ticked, we wanted it to filter on a beef restriction. If we didn't want it ticked, we didn't want it to be filtered at all. So we wanted it to both include true and false. And so this little filter system took way more time than I want to admit, is essentially what I'm getting at.
Right, right. Anyway, right, super cool, excellent stuff in here. It's this particular dashboard along with the data is actually in the repo. So if you want, you can download it and try and play around with it on your own. Like Haley said, it's all demo data, so there's nothing private or sensitive in it. All right. Let's move on. Now let's move on to the pros and cons. And I'll again let Haley do this because she's the one who's sort of gone through the pain of working through all of these.
There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the pros first. It's really easy to use. So you don't need to have any kind of coding background style in order to be able to use this. It's drag and drop, and you'll understand that in a minute when we do our workshop. And there's lots of different options. So there's really a lot of options that you can do with Tableau, different plot size you might not have also seen before. You can get a lot of complicated viz really quickly. So I'm sure some of you know that there's a lot of pain, sweat, and tears that can go into some different plots, especially using Altair, Dash, and Shiny. I've used Shiny a lot, and I know the amount of work that can go into it. And you can do some of those in less than like a minute even to get something that would take probably hours in Shiny, ggplot, or Altair, you can do in probably like a minute or two. You'll see that in a moment. It's really friendly with different types of databases or data sources. So we'll show you in the dashboard again what it can come to, what you can connect to, but I've connected to Postgres, you can connect to MongoDB, CSVs, JSON files. It's an abundant of different servers that you can attach straight to Tableau. For those people who don't have any type of wrangling or any R or Python experience, you can wrangle in Tableau. Now, I don't recommend it because I believe that R and Python will be able to wrangle better than Tableau. But for those people who cannot or who don't have access to that, it is a nice feature that they are able to use. And I think we can all admit that if you've seen other Tableau dashboards, I'm not going to use mine as an example because I think that that can use some work. You'll look at some of the other Tableau plots of dashboards and they're so pretty and really quickly done. So, all right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the cons. And I know there's a group that's using Tableau right now to visualize their data, and they probably are understanding this one right here. It's called Tableau rules is what I'm calling them, which is Tableau has a set idea of how they want you to make your dashboard, and they make it sometimes extremely difficult if you want to get around that. Now, people are able to make up some hacky ways for certain things, and there's a large community on the internet, with the Tableau community, where you can go and ask for questions. But generally speaking, it can be quite difficult sometimes for things that can be done simply in R and Python. It can take a tremendous amount of work for Tableau, and that includes that little restriction filter that I had on the side. It crashes a lot sometimes. I'm not sure if that group who's working with it can confer, but it can take it'll crash often. So if you're not saving your work, it can be extremely painful. I was working for actually one of the capstone partners that is currently working with MDS. And something I ended up making a Shiny app because Tableau just couldn't contain, it couldn't handle the data. And it's not even that big of a data set. Oh, that's not what I want. That's also not what I want. Okay, so it's got a steep learning curve. So that first day that I did this, I didn't know what was going on. I told you it took me a while to either figure out what kind of tools they're using, where I'm supposed to drag things where. And so the first couple of hours, if not the first day that you're using it, you might be a little confused. And then as soon as you kind of have that click, that aha moment, it's extremely easy. So that first day could be a little painful. Limited version control. Okay, you've already seen a little bit foreshadowing of the next slide. This is problematic, to say the least. So They have something called a revision history. So if you have a Tableau server, you can see somewhat like Google Slides and Google Documents. You can see the revision that's been done, but it's not the code. You can't see exactly what's been happening. And that's only if you have Tableau server. If you don't, if you just have the educational license, which is I did, there is nothing to go off of. So you might end up looking something like this, which was mine. And I'm embarrassed to show you. Faraz says, great, show them this. It'll show you that it can promote bad habits, and this is my bad habit.
So just to let you know, this is real. Okay, this is from like,
Yeah,
this is how you have to version. And I think I wouldn't necessarily say it's only a bad habit. It's just like, this is what you have to do, because if you have multiple versions, you need a way to keep that file in your history, so that if you ever want to go back to it, you can pull it back. But you know, creating folders and having like 2 words to describe what's in a whole dashboard, it's challenging. So yeah, I think this is a major concern.
I was lucky because I was one of the people that was also the only one kind of working on Tableau. So if you're also working with multiple people, that can also be kind of problematic, if not impossible. So yes, let's move on. And the last one here, I don't know what happened with that, is it's expensive. So there are a lot of different things you have to pay for. If you want to have it working, you have to pay for your Tableau server. If you want to have them deployed, a license. If you're doing online deployment, you have to pay for a membership for that. So it's not cheap. It's not open source. Yeah, it's expensive. I think this is your turn now, Faraz.
All right, thank you. So I think just like we did when we talked about Dash and Shiny and all the other visualization tools, it's helpful to get a boot camp on all of the terminology. So Haley, stop controlling my screen. So we'll start with some of the basic vocabulary we need to get oriented with Tableau. So the first set of vocabulary I'm going to go through are workbooks, sheets, dashboards, and then there's this thing called Tableau Stories, which is a marketing thing, but I'll still talk about it. So a workbook is a collection of sheets and dashboards. Okay, so what I showed you, that big file that had all the tabs at the bottom, that is what I would consider a workbook. And when you open Tableau, you'll get taken to the sample workbooks page, which has like 3 example workbooks. And within each workbooks, there will be a bunch of sheets and a bunch of dashboards, which are a collection of sheets. So importantly, the file for Tableau, there's 2 options. You can have a packaged workbook, TWBX, or a Tableau workbook. So depending on how you've got your data coming in, if you've got a CSV file and you want to package everything together, so that when you email your Tableau dashboard to somebody, they can just open it and just see everything, you want to do a package workbook. And then if you have some setups, some connections coming in, you can just do a Tableau workbook, and that will allow you to just refresh those connections and pull the latest data down. So both of these are good options, but the package workbook will be a large file size, obviously, because all of the data will be attached with that in a single binary file.
That's another problem I should mention, is like if they're really big, if you're saving a TWXV to GitHub, that can cause you problems.
Right. So the next hierarchy, next in the hierarchy is a sheet. And the sheet will let you make a single plot or a single visualization that you can then pull into a dashboard, where you can have multiple sheets added together to create a layout of a dashboard. Okay, so that's the basic terminology. A workbook is a whole file. A sheet is a single plot or a single visualization. And then the dashboard is the layout and the composite of a bunch of different sheets that get put together. There's also this idea of Tableau Stories, which is a sequence of worksheets or dashboards that work together to tell a story. So you can imagine that if you want to do some sort of data journalism project, you would create a bunch of dashboards that are frozen in with particular settings, so that you can tell a story. For instance, if you have arrows here with this particular curve, you want those arrows to stay, and you also want the underlying data to be the same and not allow the user control over changing this, because then your stories doesn't really make sense. So each of these are story points, which are points of time or points of a note of your dashboard where you want to tell a story. Okay, so those are the basic things. Onto the more functional things, there are data types, dimensions, measures, calculations, table joins, and table relationships. So data types is pretty simple. Here are the icons. You have strings, date, date time, numericals, booleans, geographic values like longitude and latitude, and then cluster groups. Dimensions, so according to the Tableau help, dimensions contain qualitative values and measures contain quantitative values. Why they decided to come up with brand new terminologies for well-established terms, I don't know, but dimensions and measures are something that may cause you to pull your hair out because some of your variables may be saved as strings when you want them to be numbers and vice versa. Just like in wrangling and just like in pandas and using dplyr, when you want to do conversion from one data type to another data type, you have to keep in mind what your underlying data is. So those are the two main measures, the two main aspects of how you can plot data in Tableau. Calculations. So here's a quick animation that shows you how you can basically do calculations within Tableau. These are essentially, you can create new features or new columns that are based on other columns. I call this feature engineering, but it's not really. It's just creating new composite columns using basic arithmetic and multiplication and dividing, normalizing, things like that. You can do inside Tableau. But as Haley said, this is my typical guidance is not to mix your wrangling with your visualization systems. So do the wrangling separately, create your final CSV or whatever data format you want to put into Tableau, and not do any wrangling in Tableau, but it's there if you ever need to. Table joins, as you're used to, there's left merges, right joins, left joins, inner, outer, inner, etc. All those are possible within Tableau. And then because Tableau is kind of a drag and drop UI-based tool, they also have idea of table relationships. So whereas in the case of joins, you are actually merging data together and joining data together with potential destructive consequences like losing data or getting rid of data, sometimes want. Tableau table relationships are virtual joins. So there's this idea that you have this table A, that's a physical layer, and a table B. So if you were to do a join, you would actually physically join those two things together. But if you were to do a logical relationship, you can link two data sets together without committing to the full join. I wouldn't do it. It's just there to kind of, it's there as a way for you to explore without actually doing the full joins when you're not really aware of the consequences. So I think it's a useful tool, but at this stage, I feel like you should have a full idea of what your data set looks like before you bring it into Tableau to make that final dashboard. So it's there if you need it. Okay. Let's pause there and ask if there are any burning questions before we get into the meat of our workshop, which is to actually build a dashboard from scratch.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the Google Doc, but if anyone has a question that they want to ask right now, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Raise your hand, maybe. Okay, I'll give it 10 more seconds and then we'll move on.
Oh, my name is here for this, by the way. There's two things I should probably mention about this. If you want to follow along, but kind of do the same thing we're doing, there is a workbook in the repo that's called Tableau Workshop, and it's kind of going to outline what I'm going to be saying, letting Faraz kind of instructing what we're going to be making. Yeah, right there. Also, my name is here just so I can do little things like this and kind of point to Faraz if we're where to go while we're building. So we're going to do a little bit of pair programming for this.
All right, so here, as Haley just mentioned, this is the link. It's in the Tableau workshop, also in our students repo. It's got basically the outline of what we're going to be doing. Haley put in a lot of time to actually type this out, but I'm actually not going to look at this. I am going to do this semi-blind. I'm going to open a new Tableau, and we're going to just get Haley to tell me what to do, just from scratch. Let's do this.
All right. So I guess we should start by loading the data I just finished talking about. So when you open up Tableau, you'll immediately get to this screen, and you'll notice this blue tab on the side where it says Connect. It says Connect. Am I annotating? No, I am not annotating. Here, Connect. So you can either connect from a Tableau server, you can connect to a file, or to a specific server. Now, one thing before I even go to our CSV, I want you guys to click on the More right here. These are all the different ways you can connect your data. So there's Google Drives right there, Google Sheets, which is nice. There's Postgres somewhere around here. There's MongoDB. So you've got an abundance of different ways to connect to Tableau, which is really quite nice. We are going to connect a CSV. So we're going to go to More here, and we're going to find our data. This is where you're on your own, Faraz, because I don't know where your data.
I think I downloaded it on this computer. Okay. Well, maybe I'll give everybody a chance to do this too. Hold on a sec. Tableau workshop. Data. And then we're doing street trees, right?
Yeah.
So download street trees. Downloads.
You download the HTML file.
Awesome. Thank you, GitHub. Download.
Yeah, there we go.
Street trees.csv.
Okay, so we're going to click Update Now, and you'll be able to see.
Wait, why do I have to click Update Now?
Do you see any of your data here? There's no data.
No.
So if you update now, you'll be able to see your data once it's been loaded. So
okay, so that's a form of lazy loading, doesn't actually fully load your data.
So if you scroll left and right, you'll see all of our columns or features, and you'll see, as Faraz talked about, the different types. So we've got string here, we've got numbers, numericals. We're going to edit these right away. We're going to edit these last 3 columns here. So we've got date planted. This we want to actually convert to a date type. So it's not date and time, it's date. And so now, update now. You'll see.
I'm going to click automatically update. Is that going to work?
I don't know. Let's try. Update now. So,
excellent. Okay, it worked.
So you've got a lot of null values in this anyways, because a lot of our trees, they don't know when they were planted. They just were naturally there. So that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is latitude and longitude, or longitude. So you're going to notice these are string values. We don't want string values for those features. If we go to geographical role right away, which is what you would want to do, you'll notice there's no latitude and longitude option. And that's because it's recognizing a string right now. You can't go from string to latitude and longitude. So you're going to have to go to number decimal first. So it's a bit of a 2-step process for this. And then if you click on it again and change it to over here. Oh, yeah, you got it. And then we change it, I think it's longitude first. Longitude?
It was longitude first? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, there we go. Wait, I've got to move my here. So now you notice that this is now a little globe. So that means it's now changed to an actual, the actual geographic role. And so we're going to do the same thing for our latitude one. We're going to do that a little quicker. Oh, you're already a number. Great. Latitude, perfect. So great, now we've got those 2 columns changed and edited. All right, so next thing we're going to want to do is actually start plotting our data. I can't see the bottom of your screen, Faraz, and yeah, there we go, that's perfect. So we're gonna click on this sheet 1. That's gonna go to, we talked about sheets and dashboards. This is going to go to our sheet, and this is where we can only make 1 plot. So it's not a dashboard quite yet. We're just making the plots that will put onto the dashboard. So the first thing we're going to do is make a bar chart, which seems like, okay, seems like a relatively good place to start. So we're going to attempt to make a bar chart for the number of trees that are available in each neighborhood. So I think the first thing we're going to want to look for is the neighborhood name, which is, right, there we go. Neighborhood name. We're going to drag that to the columns, and this is called a shelf. And I forgot to edit that. So we're going to drag it to the columns shelf, and you can see that it's been edited up right here. But we're not done. That's just one of our 2 variables that we need. The next thing we need is the number of trees. So I like to use tree ID, but you can use many different options here. Tree ID is just kind of like our index. So I'm going to put tree ID there, and I know that tree ID is also unique. So that makes a big difference. You kind of want to use what's unique in this case. So this just made a table that made 0 sense. So we've got to change this. That's because tree ID is a dimension. Welcome to dimensions versus measures. We're going to need to change this to a measure, and we're going to need it to change it to a count measure because we're trying to see the count of trees. And voila, we have a bar graph. Now, one of the things you'll probably, Faraz, I know, oh yes, we should,
Sorry.
we should talk about changing the title. So you can change the title up here right away. I like to change it down here because I like my title and my sheet name. You can name these separately, but I like them to have the same title sometimes. So I'm going to change it down here by the tab name, and that'll dynamically change this. You don't have to do that. You can name it like just straight up here, but that's just a personal preference. Okay, so another thing you're going to want to do, and something that you might have learned in Viz, is you will want to sort this. So this looks, it's not entirely clear which neighborhood has the most trees. So what we're going to do is right on this y-axis, there should be, if you hover, yeah, right there. You see that little icon? Beauty. How quick was that? And the next thing that, if you know anything about Faraz, is he likes to transpose his graphs.
I need to get this changed. This is driving me crazy. How do I do it?
All right, one button right there.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. I love it.
Another thing you might want to do is you don't like this axis name, so we're going to promote good habits. We're going to want to change this. We're going to right click it, and then we're going to change the title. Ooh, what did you do? Edit axis.
Oh, you said right click it. Edit axis. Okay.
And then we can change title right here. So we can say number of trees. You can also add subtitles by just unclicking automatic, but I don't think we need that right now. Okay, then you can just click OK or get out of it, and it should automatically update it. Wonderful, here we go. Beauty, and there is our first plot. I'm gonna do one other thing because I like to add color in mine, and I kind of want to make this a green theme. I want to change the color.
Hang on, Haley. Hang on. But before we get there, I just want to do a quick check. For those that are following along, just in the participants tab, click yes if you're good and following along, or if you need, and no if you need me to pause or need us to pause.
Yeah, tell me if I'm going too fast. I have 3 cups of coffee right on my desk, so things are going fast.
All right, so I don't see any no's yet, but let's give it another 10 seconds or so.
I see a tick, which is a good sign.
Ticks are good. And just no X's. That's good. All right, let's go. Let's keep going. How do I change the color?
All right, how do you change the color? So this marks card. These are all cards that you'll see. We'll use the filter one shortly, but these are all called cards. And we can change kind of the style and add different geoms, kind of, if you will, to different variables if you want. So we're just going to change the color right off the bat just by clicking color. And I kind of want a green or a dark green or something. Yeah. Or we could do purple or something. I don't know. But there you go. Right away. Done.
So do I have to, what happens if okay, so it doesn't matter if I select one bar or all of them,
Okay.
It's still going to change everything.
That's called highlighting. That's more useful for when we do our dashboard in a bit. So there is a reason that it does that, and we will tell you shortly. Just gotta hang tight for a little minute.
Okay, I can wait.
All right, let's do a quick aggregation plot. So this is gonna be very similar. So how do we make a new plot? Faraz, do you mind scrolling up a bit?
Scrolling up.
Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna wanna make a new sheet, a new plot. So in order to make a new plot, we gotta make a new worksheet. So you can tick this little icon right here, which is a new sheet, or you can go up to the toolbar and it's worksheet, and it'll say new worksheet. Or if you're using a Mac, it's Command T. There. Yeah. So that'll make a new worksheet. Cool. So our next plot that I'm just saying that we might want to know is, what about the mean diameter of trees for each genus type? That might be useful. So we're going to need two variables. We're going to need our genus name, which is right there. And we're going to need this time, no longer, oh, sorry, we're going to put it to the column shell.
Thank you.
There we go. My bad. Our next variable we're going to need is our diameter. And so our diameter has actually already been identified as a measure. So we don't have to change it to a measure, but we're going to have to do something else to get it to how we want. You'll see in a minute. If you want to drag and drop that to our row shell, great. But this isn't what we want. This automatically adjusted. Oh, what did you do? Can you go back?
Sorry, I changed it. Okay, we'll go back.
You love it too much going that way. So you'll notice that this is the sum. We don't want the sum. We want the mean. So let's change to measure and go to, they call it an average, which is the mean, but they call it the average. And we can click that. And now that makes a bit more sense for us. All right, Faraz, you can do all the things you want to do now. You can go and transpose it. You can change your title. You can change your axis name.
What units is it in? Centimeters, probably? Yeah, centimeters.
There's one thing I do want to mention is that you see this genus name up here. Sometimes if you think it's obvious enough, you don't have to show it. So you can actually do this thing where you click on it and you can hide the name of it. So if you just say hi field label for rows, and that'll get rid of that. And that's more useful when it's along your x-axis. Sometimes it can show up at the top, which is a bit of a pain, and that's something that Tableau can be difficult about. Okay, so let's change the color. Oh, wait, not before we change the color. Let's say we don't want bars. Then what do? We can actually make this a point plot. We can change this. It automatically identifies as bars, but we can change the shape. We can go to either circles, or why don't we click the shape here? There you go. And sometimes, one of the things, like sometimes you don't always necessarily have to start at 0. In this case, I think it might be useful to, but you can actually tell it where to start at 0 if you right click on the y-axis, I think. I don't know where it is. I might have to, is it format?
It's
anyway,
okay. In this one, we want to start at 0 anyway, so.
Okay. Anyways, you can decide where it starts from. It's just automatically at 0. Okay, you can change the shape. One of the things I did want to mention quickly is that there is a file, when you download Tableau, you'll find that it automatically, pick whichever one you want. There's an automatic one an automatic file that's called My Tableau repository. And in that repository is basically where you can put all the files to customize your Tableau design, your different palettes. So I put a palette, a customized palette for ours with FreshCut. Hex codes, and you can actually decide to put different shapes in here too under the My Tableau repository. So you can pick whichever shape, and then you can make your own kind of what is it, theme? I'm not sure.
I'll make these bigger, Kelly.
Oh, size, right here.
Oh, I should have seen that. Oh, there we go. Cool.
So
these are ducks, by the way.
I'm going to tell you a funny story, actually, really quickly. I actually, for one of our plots, had a knife and fork kind of icon. And after I showed Mike, who was my mentor, this plot, he immediately sent me a link to Data Viz Ducks, which was the polite way of saying, please change it back to normal plot shapes. So that didn't make it into my final one. Okay.
Yeah, agreed. Data Viz Ducks. It's a nice lecture from callingbullshit.org.
Oh, I love
where you do these things. It's literally called a duck. Anyway, back to our. I'm going to just change this back to a circle just so I don't cry.
Perfect. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you is a time series, or when we have time as a variable. Do you guys remember how to make a new worksheet? Do you remember up here or down below, or for the Mac users, Command T, and we're ready on our new one. Oh, Raz already's changing our labels. Great. So let's find our variable somewhere around here. Date planted. There we go. We're going to drag that to columns. I think you're starting to get the hang of this, right? This drag and drop deal. And we want to know, again, the number of trees planted in each year. That's what we're going to do.
Okay. Before we get on, there's a hand up. Victor, did you want to unmute and ask?
Yeah, I just write in the chat something, so I was just wondering if you saw that. Yeah, the thing is, I want to know if you can put like two layers. For example, you were doing the spider thing. Maybe
Yeah.
if you have like a layer with a line and or bars and also the spiders over. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's possible.
So I actually teach you how to do this in the time series. If you look in the workshop notes, I kind of teach that dual, like how to superimpose one on top of the other. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to it, but the notes are there. So there is a way to have the line as well as the points, but it's not on the aggregation plot. It's on the time series. So I'm not going to get around to probably doing it because we're short on time. And there's a cool thing that I want to show you after this plot.
Sounds good. Thank you, Haley.
No worries,
Thank you,
it's in there. It's under making the time series. Okay, so what do you guys remember how we're supposed to change the count to, or the tree ID? This is a dimension. We need to change it to the count. So we could use count distinct in this case because we already know that tree ID is distinct, but I'm just going to use count because I already know that it's it's going to be the same either way.
I don't believe you. Oh, you're right. It's the same.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so if we look up here, I'm gonna have to follow my own notes for this because I don't remember everything. So automatically we see this big spike here for null, and that's obviously for all the trees we did not plant or Vancouver did not plant. There's an easy way to get rid of that. So right now, if we click on the side here, click on that. These here are discrete values. The ones down here are continuous. So we have two sets of year, quarter, month kind of deal. We want, time is continuous, right? We want this as a continuous variable. So we're gonna click on the year for a moment, Brad.
Sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Doesn't that look better? So Tableau already gets rid of the null values and it actually tells you there are nulls. It says one null because it's technically one column, but it's not, you've got multiple values, but you do know that something's being hidden here. Okay, so this will give you a year. Yeah, you have a question, Brad? We can change it also to month. So if you don't want year, you can change it to quarter or month. And there you go. There's that series kind of that we recognize. There's also cool things in the discrete options that you might see. So here you can see which day of the month the most trees were planted in total. So if we hide, we can actually filter. No, usually
and the nulls are still there.
Yeah, the nulls are still there. So you can hide those and it'll change. But I think there's a way you can say show missing values or not. There's a way of getting rid of it. I'm trying to do this quickly.
We want to hide missing values, but
I don't know why that's not working, but it's easy. You can do that with filtering too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So there is an easy way to get rid of that. We're gonna go that. Now, in any case, I don't think it's the best option to do because this is just all the years aggregated together anyways. So it's not as useful. You can just see kind of which of the months in a year the most trees get planted. Yeah, perfect. All right. Let's change this. So you can make it an area plot. Let's actually first go back to their year. I want to do a continuous value. Well, what are you doing? No.
Sorry. I forgot what we were on. We were on line plot, right? Okay. Yeah. And then we're going to go to here and then make it.
We're going to change it just to year again. And so that'll get rid of the nulls. Okay. It'll be a little bit easier. So you can change these again. I do explain in the workbook sheet option how to have both the line as well as points in here. But I'm gonna full steam ahead because we're running out of time. Is there anything else I want to do for this? Just make sure you're editing your y-axis and your x-axis labels. Accordingly, you can change the time, change the color, and change the size of your line as well. I think I'm a bit more, there's another cool thing that you can do for this, which I write in the notes, which is you can actually forecast here. I'm not even going to spend time on it. It's an option. I don't recommend it. It's there, but I don't recommend it. It's there. Okay, let's do the cool part. This is, I think, my favorite part of this entire workshop coming up. We're going to do a new workbook again. We're just cranking out lots here.
New sheet, yeah.
New sheet, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna make a map. Do you guys remember how if you've ever made a leaflet map or any types of maps, it can be a long process. We have already our 2 latitude and longitude columns here. We're gonna drag and drop them. So let's drag and drop, nope, not the other way around. We're gonna do, yes, and then we're gonna do longitude to column.
Oh, cool, that was fast.
less than a minute. Okay, but those are kind of big, right? Faraz already knows you go over here to size and we can shrink them. And the smaller you get, the more sense it makes. So these are
So what are these dots?
Each dot is a street tree, is one of those tree IDs. So it's unique. So
Okay.
all of the separate. If you zoom in, you'll see a bit in a second. We'll do a little bit shortly. Okay, so you might think this is not exactly the prettiest map. It's a lot of gray. Toolbar, map. We're ready for you, Faraz.
Where? I don't see it. Oh, there. Okay. There. Okay.
Okay, map layer. All right, so then we have this little tab here, and we can change the style. So this is known as the light style. I particularly like kind of outdoor style myself. Ooh, that's nice. And so you can add different layers to it. So you can add streets, country and region border names, bodies of water. There's a lot of different options for this to make it as clean as possible. You can also add a washout, like an opacity to do it. But you essentially got a quick map in like very little time. Again, you can change the title as you would want. Okay, now we're on to our actual dashboard. So you might notice we haven't done any type of like filtering or doing kind of we haven't done any filtering at all. So let's put these all together in a dashboard. All right, so just similar to how there's two different ways to make a new sheet, you can make a new dashboard either at the menu up here or at the bottom. If you scroll down, I still can't see below, but there's a little icon at the bottom here. Yeah, right there, that guy. And so you can make a new sheet. Now, before we start anything, and I will tell you I've been a culprit, I've been a victim to this, we're gonna change our size here. So it has a desktop browser and it automatically fixes that. We want to change that to automatic. And that's because when you send or when you open it on a different screen, it's going to stay fixed, whereas if it's automatic, it'll adjust to the size of your screen. That's what I like to do right away, or it makes little problems for when you're reordering and resizing your plots on your dashboard. Okay, so we want to put things on here. You will see this sheet subheading here. We're going to drag one of our nice maps here. Which one do you want to drag, Raz? You get to pick.
The map. I like the map.
All right, so we've just dragged and put a map on it. It automatically takes the whole screen, and that's because we have two different ways of putting sheets onto our dashboard. We can do tiled or floating. Floating just means you can like move things around. Tiled means everything is fixed, kind of just glues itself to another one. And you'll see that in a moment. I like tile myself. I find floating a little difficult, but don't get me, tiled can be difficult too. All right, let's find another guy over here. All right.
Oh, I just drag and drop. That's nice.
This can be problematic if you want to get things a certain way, and you'll understand that when you put filters on.
Why can't I put one on the bottom?
We'll put one on the bottom. You're gonna have to rearrange the other ones to get it where you want it to go.
No, really?
Yes.
Faraz and Haley, I don't know if you answered this question already, but we have a question by Kenneth.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I'll read it out to you.
Sorry. Am I supposed to be looking on the chat?
I can't see them because I'm in annotate mode.
Sure thing.
So.
Can you demonstrate how to perform conditional filtering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting to that. This is where it's going to happen. So this is like filtering on specific columns, right? Is that what you're meaning? We're going to do this. This is going to be, there's a whole section.
Kenneth, does that sound like it's going to answer your question?
Yeah, I'll just read it out and see. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I think it will.
Should we?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So we have our plots, but we have everything, all of our data, right? We want to filter on it. So you'll see we're going to have to go back to our sheets. So let's say, what do we want to filter our map on? Let's say we want to filter it on, what's a good, maybe diameter size? Neighborhood?
Okay.
Let's decide.
Sure.
Let's go to our map. So geospatial view of trees. And we're going to pick the which of our columns we want to be able to filter on. So pick whichever ones you want for as.
I want neighborhood name.
Okay, right there. And then maybe
just drag and drop.
Drag and drop, and you're going to pick all. You can decide to leave some out, but in this case, we're going to use them all. Okay. Maybe we also want to do it by date planted. That's another good one. Nice. And this is going to tell you like relative dates, range of dates. I like to use a range so I have a little bit more control. then we're going to click next. And then we can either decide to include null values or not. I'm going to leave those out just, actually, we're going to include them. Let's include them.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got a couple of different ones there. Is there anything else I want to do? Root barrier, that's another one I like to put in. So this is if they have protection on the roots.
Protection on the roots, that's what it means?
I think so. Watch me have to go back on what I said.
That's fine, I believe you.
All right, so instead of going, we're gonna do all our filters. Let's just start with that. Let's go back to our dashboard here. Okay, so we wanna add these filters to our dashboard. We're gonna click on these correspond with our geospatial tree. We're gonna click on this, this map, this sheet, not there, but you'll see right here, you see all these different things over here. We're gonna click on this more options. We're gonna click on filters, and you should be able to see now all of those ones that we did. Now it's automatically gonna do latitude and longitude because those are some of our conditions already. We have them in our shelves or row in our column shelves, but we've added that date planted, that root barrier, and that neighborhood name. Faraz wants to add the neighborhood name. So let's click on that. Boom, there's our filter. It takes up a lot of room though, right? I don't love that it takes up so much room, so let's change the style of that. Let's go to the more options little triangle right over here and click drop down right there. But you can do single view list, single view. I like to do multiple view because I want to click multiple neighborhoods. So if you notice now, if you click some of these neighborhoods, it's only highlighting those in the specific neighborhoods, and you can see already it's very obvious. We only have a few conditions highlighted. Cool. Now I'm gonna just right off the bat, really quickly, skip doing that to every single one of our sheets, right? It's on every single one of our sheets. We can do this really cool thing where we go to more options. Right there, yeah, and we can say apply to worksheets. Remember how each of our graphs is a different worksheet, and we can select all using relative data or all using this data source. That's my favorite. Let's use all related to this data source, but you can also select which maps you want it to affect to. So it's not like all or nothing. You can specifically select which maps or which sheets to filter on. So if you notice now, this got a little sparser, this got a little sparser, our time series got a little sparser. Everything now is affected by this one filter. Cool, right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty easy actually. So now I can click different neighborhoods, and only those will show up in all plots that are affected by this filter. Okay.
Now another one that's really cool that I like is can you do all now so that you'll see a bigger change here now. So now what if I want one of my other plots to affect like my graph here? So let's say I want to use time, like this time over here, this time series, like the different years, as a filter. So I want to use this graph as a filter. We're going to click on our time series. You'll see the little funnel right here, and it says use as filter. Let's click on that. It doesn't do anything right now, but let's click on a year. Let's click on, I don't know, this one here, something. There we go. Now the map.
Those are all the trees planted that year?
Yes.
Wow, so that's super cool.
This x-axis here has been affected too. So you see how that changes? There you go. Same here.
Wow, that's
now,
nice.
This time series is now used as a filter.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, we made it through. I got to the end of the worksheet.
All right, Kenneth, does that answer your question? I haven't read your question fully, but does this conditional filtering allow you to do what you want?
Yeah, I was thinking something along the lines of, let's say, maybe the top 5 tree genus in terms of diameter.
Yeah, so if you want to, if that's how you want to filter by, or if that's what you want to include on your worksheet.
Yeah, okay. So then.
So just hold Apple, and then you click on them, and then you can just select it. Obviously, you can have buttons that do the same thing, where you can have like top and bottom as a drop down, or 5 or 10 or 15 as another drop down, and then you use this filter thing to link all of them together, and then you can basically do everything that you want.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
So is that it, Haley? Do you want to quickly talk about the layouts?
You can also, I'll do one quick thing. Is you can add, like I added like an image. You can add images in here. You can add extensions. Remember I said that there was an extension I needed to specifically for filtering. That's how you can do it here. You can actually also embed, you can embed links in actual websites. That is over here. So that can come in handy as well. So if you have already a dashboard that has been deployed online, you can actually put that in your, so we've got a dashboard inception going on. I think that covers, I think, most of what I want to say. And then if you look up here by server, that's where you would deploy.
Oh, we got rickrolled. Okay. All right, so you can basically add iframes with all sorts of other information that can.
If you want to, do you just want to click the server just to show them where this is where you would log in, and this is
Sure, yeah.
Sign in. This is where you would publish your data source there.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, so this is all good. The layout, just make sure you get the one advice I'd give you is make sure you get your worksheet set up with the plots that you want, and then you can spend a bit of time getting the layouts exactly where you want it. The way it works is that you click and, oh, I just got it.
Delete it.
You click and hold it, and then you sort of drag it around, and it gets gray, and that's where you can put it. And it takes a bit of like getting used to figure out what exactly.
One of the things that's the biggest thing I've got that's counterintuitive is you have to move other plots sometimes to move the plot you want where you want it. So I have struggled with this for our dashboard last year. Sometimes you have to move like 4 other things to get that 5th thing to where you want it, and it's a bit of a problem. But I still advise that over floating. Floating is good for like if you want to add a button, so a navigation button for like back or whatnot. But for your actual sheets and your plots and your filters, I wholeheartedly advise Tile.
Okay, let's stop here. And before we move on to the next section, ask if there's any quick questions